I just wasn't into it, so I DNF'd it. And I read one of Kelly's, which was Jay's Gay Agenda. So I'm calling myself season 2 Vicky, and I will not be explaining any further what I mean by that. You know what you should read.
It's time for What You Should Read, the podcast all about the titles you need. Join 3 book lovers and a guest as they cover all the best new titles to enjoy with your tea.
I have that, but I haven't read it yet.
Hi, I'm Julia.
I'm Rachael.
And I'm Kelly.
And this is What You Should Read,
the podcast where we should all over our books.
And by the time you're listening to this, the USA gymnastics team will have been selected for the Olympics, and we will see if Alina Dillon's predictions are correct, as read in the book, The Happiest Girl in the World.
Yes.
So excited.
I do think, obviously, Simone Biles, she'll probably take first place at the trials, which will lock her in, and then Suni Lee or Jordan Chiles will get spot number 2, and the top 2 automatically. But then I do think those 3 are definitely locks either way, because the second 2 are actually voted on by committee, which we did read about in her book too.
Right. Yeah.
I'm so excited. The finals or the trials end tonight. I'm gonna watch.
Yay.
I won't watch, but I know you will text me and I'll know.
Yeah, I'll tell you as soon as I know. I don't know who the 4th spot is really like anyone's game.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I'm excited. Okay, enough about gymnastics. More gymnastics books, please.
Yes, please.
Rachael, what are you reading this week?
Well, I finished Olive Kitteridge yesterday, and it was so good but really sad, so I wanted something a bit of a pick-me-up. So last night I picked up This Time Next Year by Sophie Cousins. I started it after dinner, and I'm already on page like 200, so yeah, because I was up early this morning and I just been reading it. It's so fun. It's like funny, and I am on the edge of my seat trying to figure out what's going to happen, and I just love it. I think it's a really cute book.
I really enjoyed that one.
Me too.
I finished it today. And then on audiobook, I think a while back I had started reading Where the Light Enters by Sarah Donati, which is the sequel to The Gilded Hour. And I started reading it on my Kindle, and for some reason I just never wanted to pick my Kindle up and read it. So I downloaded the audiobook on Libra FM, and I'm loving it.
Which one is it?
Where the Light Enters by Sarah Donati.
Yep.
And I really like the narrator. She does really good voices for all the characters, and it's very engaging. So I'm happy that I'm reading that. Yeah.
Cool. Kelly, what are you reading?
I just finished The Damage by Caitlin Werther, I think is her name. And I really liked it. Book of the Month has it classified as a thriller. Now that I've read the entire book, it really is not a thriller.
Wow.
There is a crime and there is a level of suspense, but I don't know. I feel like I have a very specific idea of what a thriller is. And it's a suspenseful book, but it's suspenseful in the way that all good books are suspenseful, and what's going to happen, how are we going to get there, whatever. But I don't know. It was really good though. I enjoyed it a lot, and I've been recommending it to people. But I have now started The Idea of You by Robinne Lee, which I am reading on the recommendation of our friend and tastemaker of the pod, Kathy Coe. It's really good so far, but I'm only a chapter in, and it is about this woman, probably roughly our age, who has a young daughter, and early teen daughter, and her ex-husband gets their daughter and her 3 or 4 best friends tickets to see a what's that boy band with Harry Styles that
One
used
Direction?
yes them.
Oh.
It's a band that's very much like them,
Oh.
like gets them tickets and like backstage passes to meet them. And the mom and the Harry Styles character are going to end up having a thing. And
Uh-oh.
apparently it's very fun, but also very, very good. And she said it's one of her favorite books ever. And Kathy has never led me wrong. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to be reading this.
You have similar reading tastes, the two of you.
Yes, we do.
The Dam is just the one with the character named Julia Hall, and it's set in Maine, right?
Yes, that is
Yeah.
the very same one. Yeah.
I want to know who like stole my life to write.
Let's hope not.
So funny. Well, I just finished Darling by Kay Ancrum,
So good.
which I'm probably going to talk about several times during this episode. It was definitely my favorite of hers, and I've loved all of hers. So just go out and buy it. I finished it last night, and I woke up to a text and then as soon as I finished it, I looked at my phone and I had a text from my friend Kristen, who had texted me a picture of Darling and said, look what I just bought for a beach read, take to the beach tomorrow. Because she had seen our post on Instagram about it. And I was like, I literally just finished this. It's so good. And so I feel like an influencer now.
You are.
Yeah. And so I finished that last night. I haven't really picked up another book yet physically, but I did start listening to We Could Be Heroes by Mike Chen, which I'm not normally, he wrote Here and Now and Then Again, Here and Now and Back Again. This is his third book. I couldn't really get into his second book, but so far I'm liking this, and I'm not normally a superheroes books person, but I love his writing. And so far the audiobook, like I like the two main characters a lot. They're really interesting, and they're like flawed and complicated, which I love. So that's my current read.
Yeah, I just keep thinking about your friend reading Darling on the beach, and I'm very concerned that she's going to end up getting a really bad sunburn, because she is for sure going to end up like not paying the attention that she should.
I couldn't put it down.
Oh yeah, same. I
want to reread Peter Pan now. Because it is a page by page adaptation. Like she lifted the story and put it in modern day Chicago. So I even felt like a lot of the dialogue was similar, especially Peter's like flowery speeches that he makes. I was like, oh, that's definitely lifted right from the book. But it's just such a smart adaptation. I mean, she's very much a genius.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a departure from what she's written, but I thought everything about it was just perfect.
Yeah.
And I love that, Wendy, while she starts off being this like very naive, sheltered girl, she ends up very much saving herself. And I am a fan of that. So I don't know. I'm praying for your friend's skin not getting, burned.
She'll be fine. She'll be fine.
Yeah, it's whatever. But instead of book news today, I sort of have a lot of questions, because I've been seeing a couple of different articles lately, basically about how. Okay, so the big one I want to talk about is one from Book Riot, and it's surefire ways to get bad Goodreads reviews no matter how good the book is. I know you two have seen it. I think probably everyone listening to this might have seen it, because it definitely made its rounds on book Twitter. But the thing that one of the things that will definitely get your book a bad review is if the characters aren't perfect.
Yeah.
Which I think is very interesting. And the example that the author gave was Indestructible Object by Mary McCoy. And it is a teenage girl. She cheats on her boyfriend. They're not together as a result of that. But she is told by a friend of hers that she is bi. Well, okay. She is bi, and a friend tells her, you're enacting a bad stereotype, you're making us all look bad. And she's basically like, well, if I were straight, I would just be behaving badly, but it wouldn't be reflecting on an entire group of people. And that made me think of the discussion that we had, I think last week or maybe the week before, about Ellen Hildebrand and her glib comment about Anne Frank in a book, Golden Girl, which I still have not read, incidentally, and how that's going to be changed. And I guess the question I keep coming back to is, what sort of responsibility do authors have for their books? Like, is a bad, ignorant, glib comment, is it just a bad, ignorant comment, or does it have, I guess, deeper societal implications?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the context, right? Like, we spent a lot of time in that episode trying to figure out the context of the conversation, and did the character in the book reflect on that comment afterward, or did someone else make a comment? You know, was it signaled like, anyway? Yeah, I guess it depends on the context.
Right.
Yeah. And I do think that for better or worse, we are more likely to be able to engage and recognize harmful stereotypes and comments maybe being more indicative of a deeper problem. Because I think, for example, that J.K. Rowling's portrayal of the Goblin Bankers in Harry Potter is a lot worse and arguably much more anti-Semitic.
Absolutely.
Than a stupid Anne Frank joke.
Yep. I agree. The thing about, it's funny how, like, if a character is cheating, that is definitely a way to get a lot of people to give you a bad rating and review on Goodreads. And I just never understood that. It's like, this is fiction, right? They're not cheating on you. And I always think it points more to the reviewers, like, personal insecurities, and maybe, like, I don't know, like, maybe they got cheated on, so they don't like to see it in books. But I mean, I don't read a book expecting a character to be an angel. Like, I don't know. I just never understand that. And I like characters that are flawed and complex anyway. And it's interesting. I was listening to this podcast by where they interviewed someone from Book of the Month, and she was like, well, sometimes we don't pick books that we think are really good because the main character is unlikable, and we know our audience won't like that. And I was like, wow. And, which I'm really glad that White Ivy made it through in that case, because she is a very flawed character. And it's like, you don't like her, but you still kind of root for her a little bit. So she's really complicated. So I was like, I bet a lot of people read that book and were just like, I just didn't like her. She was unlikable,
Yeah. And I get that. I have a friend who definitely will stop reading a book if she doesn't like any of the characters. I don't know. I definitely, I will read a book with unlikable characters. I feel like I have to care something about them.
There has to be humanity to them.
Right, exactly. And it's like, it doesn't matter if I want to see you win or not, or if I want to see you lose or whatever. I just have to be
invested.
Very invested. Yeah, exactly.
I agree. But they don't have to be likable, I guess, is my
right.
They don't have to be perfect. Like Olive Kitteridge, like that book was really sad, and the main character was very unlikable. But in a way that was she was so human. She was so flawed. She was so imperfect that it was like a perfect portrayal of humanity.
Yeah.
Almost no person in that book was like without fault.
I have another question related to the Goodreads reviews conversation. And that is, like, do you all rate a book based on your personal, like, enjoyment of it? Or do you try to be more objective, like rating this book on its merits, because I think I pretty much rate, if I loved it, it gets 5 stars. If I liked it, it gets 4. If it was just okay for me, it's 3. But my 3 could be someone else's 4, based on the quality of the book. So I do struggle with that, because I don't want to, like, I don't know, but I want to, like, record how I felt reading it.
Right, exactly.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, I felt that way with Olive Kittredge when I was trying to decide what to rate it on Goodreads, and I almost wish I just hadn't yet, because I'm like, this in another time in my life might be a 5-star book.
Mhm.
But today I feel like giving it 4 stars.
Yeah.
And I couldn't put a finger on why, other than that it made me sad. But like, I love sad books. Like, I
Yeah,
love
you do.
Yeah.
books. But I think just the type of sadness I felt just at this point in my life, like if I'd have read it 2 years ago, I probably would have given it 5 stars.
Yeah.
And who knows, if I read it again 2 years from now, I might give it 5 stars. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I do agree. Like there are some books that I probably read a while ago and gave 5 stars, and if I reread them today, I might not.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel so bad. My Goodreads rating system, it's so subjective. Like sometimes 5 stars means I absolutely loved this book. It is a new favorite. Sometimes it's I have been in a reading slump and I read this book in,
Yeah.
a day and a half.
Hmm.
It fixed me. 5 stars.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Um,
that's the thing to me. I think Goodreads reviews are very personal.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I do look at a rating and a book's overall rating on Goodreads. And if it has over 4 average rating, I'm more likely, I think, to pick that one up next.
Right.
Which is probably not fair. Because I've loved books that have less than a 4-star
Right.
rating. So I think it's just like everyone out there should not put that much stock into Goodreads ratings because they mean different things for everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
for
Like
sure.
any review. Oh, Rachel's cat is in the screen.
Hi, buddy.
Pause for pause.
Pause for pause. Yeah.
Aw, hi, Lenore.
Hi.
Um,
Lenore doesn't care if you like her Goodreads rating.
Yeah, she really does not.
What I do though, when I'm trying to decide what to read, I will look it up on Goodreads. If it's over a 4-star, I'm a lot more likely to pick it up. But then I scroll down and I see if any of my Goodreads friends have rated it and what they said.
Same.
And I've gotten rid of almost all of my friends on Goodreads. The people that are on there now are people that I know, like
Yeah, you trust
in my
her.
actual, real or book life. And yeah,
Right.
like people whose opinion I would trust.
Yep,
So
definitely.
yeah.
Trying to make a little room for my cat to snuggle up next to me on the couch. She has to have like the perfect conditions or she won't stay.
Oh, that's
She's
funny.
so
Gosh. Oh, I saw an ad for this chair that like someone made that makes room for needy pets. So your pet can sit in the chair with you right next to you, but like not interfere. Yeah, I was like, oh, I need to get that.
Me too. Oh my god, she would love that.
Yep.
Oh yeah, she's comfy now. Hi, baby. I love her. All right. Do we have another book news item?
I've read 53 books so far this year.
Woohoo!
What's the best one since last week?
It's like, honestly, Darling might have moved into the top spot.
Nice.
Yeah, it was so good. But I mean, it is the most recent one I read, so it also has recency bias. 'Cause,
Right.
like, for it.
But I mean, I would not be surprised if that was still the case because The Wicker King was in my top 5 last year.
Yeah, I think
So-
it'll be in my top 5. I have
Yeah.
a feeling. Yep.
Awesome. Well, I think now is the time to go to our next segment, which is recent acquisitions, where we talk about the books that we've recently bought, borrowed, or been given. So, Kelly, what about you?
I bought The Damage, which I ended up loving, as you know, and I got an e-galley of Then She Vanishes, which looks to be another fun thriller. This is all I want right now, pretty much.
It's summer.
It's
Need
summer.
the thrillers, summer reading.
Yep.
How about you, Julia?
Just Darling. It came in the mail this week. And of course, I already had the e-arc, but I waited for the final copy. I really wanted to just experience the final book, and I'm so glad I did. So, yeah.
Good. Well, I have not received any new books, My husband did buy the Sandman, some of the Sandman graphic
Oh, cool.
novels, which I'll probably end up reading.
Yeah.
And I did order some books, they just haven't arrived yet. But so yesterday morning we watched this new show on Disney Plus, the Mysterious Benedict Society. And it's based off these children's books. They're like middle grade chapter books. They're pretty long, actually. Like they're like 500 pages long. So I bought a box set.
Oh,
And I thought they would be cool because I'll read them and then probably give them to Gabe to read.
yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I saw that on Disney Plus.
It's really good. I was
Good.
like, oh my gosh, I have to read these books.
Aw. All right. Well, I think that now we are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are talking about what books we are excited about that will be releasing in July. So stick around and we'll be right back.
It's time for what you should read.
And we are back. And today is our July 2021 most anticipated releases episode. So we're going to, in a minute, talk about which books coming up this month we are excited to read. But first, we're going to review how we did for June. So, of course, we're going to use our patented Goodreads rating scale. So we each picked 5 books. What?
The Good Place. You said Goodreads.
Yes. All right, I'm going to start over. We were talking about Goodreads ratings.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rachel. The Good Place. We are going to use our patented Good Place rating scale. So if you didn't read any of your most anticipated, you're a cheatie. You just couldn't decide. If you read 1, you are a Jason O'Dip. If you read 2, Eleanor, Arizona Trash Bag. 3 is Michael, to averages to human. 4 is Tahani, so close to being the best. And then 5 is Janet, practically perfect in every way. If you read all 5 and one of the other podcasters, one of the other hosts picks, then I think you're the judge, right? I think that's what we decided. So
I have a new one for what I did this month. I'll get.
Oh. Okay, Rachel. Well, then, Rachel, we'll start with you. So your 5 most anticipated were The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin, The Sea is Salt and So Am I by Cassandra Hart, The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reed, For the Wolf by Hannah F. Witten, and The Unpopular Vote by Jasper Sanchez.
So I bought and started reading The Nature of Witches and DNF'd it.
Wow.
I don't know if it's boring or if I was just bored because it wasn't what I wanted in the moment. I might try again in the fall. But yeah, it just, I don't know. I feel like maybe I just wasn't in the mood for like YA teen angst book, because that's what it is. It is all angst all the time. With some cool magic stuff in it, but I just wasn't into it. So I DNF'd it. And I read one of Kelly's, which was Jay's Gay Agenda. So I'm calling myself season 2 Vicky, and I will not be explaining any further what I mean by that.
Hey, I love it. I will accept that. Kelly, let's review your picks. So for June, you were anticipating The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Delilah Harris, Ahmed Azaz's Epic Year by Nina Hamza, Dream Girl by Laura Littman, Jay's Gay Agenda by Jason June, and We Are Inevitable by Gail Foreman.
Yes. I read all 5. And technically I read Darling, but I read Darling well before June, so I don't know if it counts. But if we're going off of the agreed on scale, I am final season Simone because I'm in a coma and none of this is real.
Perfect.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Well, my picks were Darling by Kay Ancrum, God Spare the Girls by Kelsey McKinney, My Contrary Mary by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows, Fierce Self-Compassion by Dr. Kristen Neff, and The Chosen and the Beautiful by Nivo. And I read 2 out of 5. So I'm a Eleanor, and I did purchase my Fierce Self-Compassion by Kristen Neff, but I started it, but I only have read a few pages, so I haven't actually started that one yet. So I'm an Eleanor. I don't have a made up one. I mean, they're all made up, but
Awesome.
yeah. Okay, so now we're going to turn to July, and I'm excited for my July picks because they're all like romance or sci-fi, which is all I want to read in the summer anyway. Love just like picking up some genre fiction. So, Rachel, I'll start with you again. So, what's your first pick for July?
Okay, so my first pick is actually a June release. I thought it was a July release, and then I realized yesterday it's releasing this coming Tuesday, June 29th.
I'll allow it as Christie of the pod.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's okay. So it's the 12th book in a series. It is Dead by Dawn by Paul Dwyron, the
Oh,
Mike Bowditch series that I like. And this is about a Maine game warden named Mike Bowditch and his shenanigans he gets into as a game warden and a warden investigator. And like I said, this is the 12th book in the series, and he usually publishes in July. So it is weird that it's coming out the last Tuesday of June. I'm sure there was a reason for that. So that's why I'm still counting it, because I won't get it until July, because
yeah.
always read them on audiobook. And usually I'll try and either wait for my library audiobook to be ready, like available, or I would get it on Scribd, but I don't have Scribd anymore. So I'm saving when I get my July credit for Libro FM, that's what I'm going to get. It is going to be available on there. It's already available for pre-order for people who want it. But once my credit drops, I will buy it.
Yeah.
And because I've listened to them all on audiobook, because the narrator is really good and is just perfect for that story. So yeah, so my first one is Dead by Dawn by Paul Dwyron. And I'm not going to really say what the synopsis is because
The series.
it's a series. It's the 12th book, so I don't want to like spoil anything, but it's police procedural type book anyway. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to dive in.
Nice. There are 5 Tuesdays in June, so I bet that's why.
Oh yeah,
Because it's one of those months where there just happen to be 5 Tuesdays instead of 4.
makes sense.
Cool. Okay, Kelly, what is your first July pick?
Okay, so my first one, probably not a surprise to anybody, Rise to the Sun by Leah Johnson. She wrote You Should See Me in a Crown, which I think I mentioned once or twice on the podcast.
Oh, did you like that book?
I did. I thought it was pretty fun, a little bit sweet. Certainly did not talk about it for likely 10 podcasts in a row. But this one sounds so great too. It's about a girl named Olivia, and basically she falls in love a lot, and the relationships end a lot, as tend to happen. It happens.
Yeah.
And apparently the last breakup was bad, like bad. And so she ends up going to this music and arts festival with her best friend, and she's like, we're just going to hang out, we're going to enjoy music, I'm not going to try and date anybody. And I mean, of course, what's going to happen whenever somebody's like, I'm not going to focus on love, I'm going to, whatever. But it looks just as good and just as fun and just as sweet. And like the end of the synopsis is packed with irresistible romance and irrepressible heart. Best-selling author Leah Johnson delivers a stunning and cinematic story about grief, love, and the remarkable power of music to heal and connect us all, which sounds like something I need in my life immediately. So when this drops, I only have about another week to wait. I'm very close. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I know you've been excited about that one, so I assumed it would be on your list.
Yeah.
Okay, well, my first pick is While We Were Dating by Jasmine Guillory. And she is, of course, the queen of the romantic comedy. This is her 6th installment in the Wedding Date series, it's more companion novels, but this book focuses on Ben Stevens, who I think is Theo's brother from The Wedding Party.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, he's a sibling of one of the other characters in an earlier book, and he is an advertising executive, and he has this big ad campaign with famous Hollywood star Anna Gardner, which I just think is the best name for a Hollywood actress, and so she's in this ad campaign and he's like managing it, and they have this like flirtation going, and then, you know, love ensues, I guess. But I mean, I just love her books. And Rachel, kind of similar to what you were saying about your first pick, I always listen to her books on audio. So I am definitely, this drops on July 13th, and I'm definitely going to be using my Libro FM credit for this one, or maybe for another one that comes out in July that I'll talk about in a minute, but definitely going to listen to this on audio either way. And yeah, I'm just so excited. Her books are so funny and fun to read and sexy, and I love them so much.
Awesome. Sounds great.
I love them so much too. And yeah, the fact that it's got a whole Hollywood type story, I'm so excited. I also cannot wait.
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely stole this off of your list, Kelly, but
You did, but it's fine.
Okay.
We can all be excited about the same thing.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
fun too.
Yeah. Okay, Rachel, what's your second pick?
My second pick comes out July 6th, and it is The Comfort Book by Matt Haig.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a nonfiction. The synopsis says, years ago, Matt Haig began writing notes to his future self. These notes were meant as gifts to his future self, offerings of hope to help himself through anything from the darkest periods of his life to a not so great day. As time went on, he added new thoughts and stories, and he turned them into the comfort book so that everyone could draw on his well of reassurance and encouragement. So it has like short meditations that give new perspective on life and all of its highs and lows. And it just like, it sounds like, I guess just like the title says, it sounds really comforting and just like a feel-good read.
Yeah, that sounds really great.
Yeah.
And I loved The Midnight Library.
Yeah, that was good, but I like his writing style. And I'm anxious to, I know one of his first books was a nonfiction as well. So I'm anxious to see how he does the nonfiction.
Cool. Kelly, what's your second pick?
Okay, this is another one that I feel like is not going to be a surprise to anybody, but it's Where the Briars Sleep by Emma Bevan. We had her on last summer. I have been waiting, I think, a full year for this book, and it's finally almost here. It's out July 17th. It is a gothic ghost story. I love all of these things. I am so excited.
It's out on your birthday, Rachel.
That is my birthday. Wow.
Well, and I think because it's an Australian publisher, so it's not releasing on a Tuesday.
Right.
That's cool.
Some Penguin books release on a Thursday as well.
Really? This isn't even a Thursday. This is a
Saturday.
Yeah.
Either
well,
way,
I've already pre-ordered it. They had to special order it at Greedy Reads for me.
Aw.
So I'm excited. I'm going to tell them to have a bunch there though, because she's a local author.
Yeah.
I think we have an arc of it, but I've already pre-ordered it. So maybe I think I might save it for like spooky times.
Yeah, for Halloween month.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always Halloween in my heart.
Right.
And I've already waited for a full year, it feels like, maybe even longer. So it's like the second this hits my Kindle, I'm
Yeah. Okay, I am gonna pick Incense and Sensibility for my second pick. This is number 3 in the Rachael series by Sonali Dave. And this one focuses on Yash, who's one of the brothers, and he's the first serious Indian gubernatorial candidate for the state of California. And so this is his story, and it's obviously a take on Sense and Sensibility, but I love how she takes those stories and uses this, world that she's created that brings in Indian American culture, the immigrant story, and just like really great characters. So, and usually there's like a lot of food in her books, which is always fun. So I probably will get this one on audiobook as well, because I really enjoyed listening to Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors on audiobook. So I think I'll do that with this one too. And this one comes out, I think July 6th. Yeah, July 6th. So not too long to wait.
Great.
All right. Round 3, Rachel, you're up.
Okay, this one, I think both of you would like it, and I'm curious if it's on either of yours lists, but it comes out July 6th again, and it is Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead by Emily R. Austin.
Cool. I've heard of this one. It's not on my list, but I
Okay.
did see it somewhere. So yeah.
It sounds so good. And it sounds really funny. It's described as hilarious. So the main character, her name is Gilda. She's a 20-something atheist, animal-loving lesbian, and she cannot stop thinking about death. So she is desperate for relief from like the hold death has on her mind. So she responds to a flyer for free therapy at a local Catholic church and finds herself being greeted by the priest who thinks she's there for a job interview, for a receptionist job. And she's like too polite to correct him. So she gets offered the job and she starts working there, and then like finds out that the person who had the job before her died mysteriously. So she becomes like obsessed with her death and trying to figure out what's going on. It was compared to Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine, which I loved that book. So I'm really excited for this book. I really want to read it.
That sounds great.
Amazing. It was not on my list, but I have just pre-ordered. So.
Yeah.
Nice.
That sounds great. That would be a good book of the month pick.
Oh yeah. I wonder.
Kelly, what's your second pick?
My next one is Dear Miss Metropolitan by Carolyn Farrell. It also sounds really good. It sounds not unlike that story, you know, of what was his name, like Ariel Castro, the guy in Ohio or someplace who kept the 3 women like captive in his house. It sounds like that, only it is now Queens, and there are 3 different women who have been basically kidnapped and captured in this guy's house. And it sounds more like what it's like after they're rescued, which I think is always the most interesting part of the story, because after this horrible thing happens to you, once you survive it, how do you go back to normal life? Like, how do you do any of that? And this one is definitely it sounds amazing. It's compared to the Nickel Boys. And apparently only 2 of the 3 of them were found. So the question is, well, where's the other one? Like, is she still there, like in a different hiding place? Or hopefully she escaped, but probably dead.
Is that the one that's written sort of stream of consciousness?
It's a little bit kind of like that.
Yeah. I don't know for sure, but Jacqueline Woodson blurbed it, Roxane Gay did. Oh, it sounds like yes, because Roxane Gay said it's a story told in brilliant, jagged fragments that will make you uncomfortable, and it will make you ache and make you rage.
Ooh,
nice.
She gives the best blurbs.
Yeah, she really does. Yeah.
Cool. I do have the audiobook for that, so
I do as well. But I'm gonna get it on Kindle too, because I feel like if it's gonna be hard to follow, it would probably be easier if I'm reading, not listening. But we'll see how it goes. Yeah. And it's out July 6th.
Or you can kind of go back and forth.
Yeah.
Okay, my third pick is one of my science fiction picks for today, and it's A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. And so Becky Chambers wrote the Wayfarer series, which the first one of which is A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. And there are 4 books in that series. And I just love her writing so much. It's funny, it's insightful, it makes you think about life. And she is like, her books are always so diverse, even and like just so creative, and we're so lucky to have her. And so this is a new series. It says Monk and Robot #1, so that's the name of the series. But The book is really short. It's only 160 pages. So it's really like a novella. And it says, it's been centuries since the robots of Earth gained self-awareness and laid down their tools. Centuries since they wandered en masse into the wilderness, never to be seen again. Centuries since they faded into myth and urban legend. One day, the life of a tea monk is upended by the arrival of a robot there to honor the old promise of checking in. The robot cannot go back until the question of what do people need is answered. But the answer to that question depends on who you ask and how. They're going to need to ask it a lot.
Wow.
And so Becky Chambers' new series asks, in a world where people have what they want, does having more matter? And I'm just so excited for this. I have it on NetGalley already, so I'll probably read it pretty soon. It comes out July 13 from Tor. And I'm so excited for a new series from her. And this one, it sounds completely different from the Wayfarers series, but just as fun. So yeah, that's A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers.
That sounds so good. That description.
Well, and it's Monk and Robot is the series name. So I wonder if like those two characters are going to be like, friends and like.
Oh, I love that. I hope so.
Yeah.
Great.
All right, round 4, Rachel.
Okay, my next pick comes out July 22nd, and it is called After Love by Tanya Byrne. And it is Goodreads writes in all caps, the lesbian love story you've been dying to read. So, and there's big death plays a part in this book as well. So Ash is one of the main characters, and she's about to become a reaper in the afterlife, but she is determined to see her first love, Poppy, again. The only thing that separates them is death. And it sounds like a love story between like a dead person and an alive person. Like she becomes a reaper, and it just sounds like it's the way it's described. It sounds like it's going to be like funny, but also like kind of dark, but like in a dark humor kind of way. And yeah, it just, it sounds like a cute love story, kind of a YA type thing. I don't know if it's YA. It sounds YA. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, it sounds good. I don't know why I've got a lesbians and death theme going on this month, but
by the way, Rachel, I'm very distracted by your fan and how like it's blowing your hair, and it looks like you're in a looks like you're a model in a wind tunnel right now. Yeah. I'm just like, wow, it's amazing. That sounds great. Okay, Kelly, what's your 4th pick?
So my 4th is Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. He wrote Blacktop Wasteland, which our friend and Outrage correspondent Allison Dixon recommended to us a ways back. And this one sounds really good too. It's out on July 6th, and it's about these 2 men, okay? And each of them, their sons are in a relationship. So Ike Randolph has been out of jail for 15 years, hasn't had any sort of problems with the law, not even a speeding ticket since. But then cops come to tell him that his son Isaiah has been murdered, along with Isaiah's husband Derek. And so those 2 are dead. And now Ike and Derek's father are going to figure out who murdered their sons and why. And, and maybe not even like why, but we're going to find out who killed our kids, and then we are going to straight up kill them for it.
Whoa.
So I'm very excited for that one.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, my next pick is much less dark.
It's thriller season, Julia. I don't know what to tell you.
It's funny how like this would be a good topic for like a summer. I think we did kind of talk about this last year with our summer reads episode, like what a summer read is to you. And I think like definitely for you, it is probably more thrillers, which I do understand. I mean, I'm not typically a thrillers person, but I get it. But for me, it's like rom-coms or science fiction. I think it's just like I don't want to read like literary fiction in the summer. You know, I kind of wait until I like curled up in a cozy blanket to read something like that. But
yeah.
I don't know. So my next pick is another rom-com. So this is a debut novel. So my first three picks were all authors that I know and love. My next two are authors that are new to me. And this is a debut novel that Kelly actually put me onto, and that's The Rehearsals by Annette Christie. And this is a book with a time loop, which I'm a sucker for. And I've never read, though, a book where two people are stuck in a time loop at the same time, like together. So that I think is interesting. That seems new to me. And I've also never had it be someone whose like wedding was the next day. So basically these two people are getting married. They have this disastrous rehearsal dinner and day, and they decide to call off the wedding. And then they wake up and it's the rehearsal dinner day again. So it's like they're stuck in this time loop where they have to keep reliving like the worst day of their lives. And then they're like, what happens if we actually ever get to the wedding day? And so I'm intrigued by the premise of it's two people stuck together in this time loop, and how it's, you know, it just sounds great. So I'm definitely going to give this one a try. So that's The Rehearsals by Annette Christie. It comes out July 13th, like pretty much all of my picks.
Yeah,
That sounds good.
it really does.
All right, last round. So Rachel, what's your last pick?
Okay. My last pick it comes out July 27th, so I'm definitely not going to read it in July, I don't think. But it sounds good. It's called The Women's March by Jennifer Chiaverini. I don't know how to pronounce that. But it's a historical fiction inspired by actual events, set during, the time of women fighting for suffrage in the United States, and talks about the march that happened on March 3rd, 1913 to, protest and ask for suffrage. And it follows a few different people, definitely some that are like real people. And I don't know if some of them are made up because I don't know like everything about that time, but like Ida B. Wells is a real person, I think.
Yes.
And then there's other people that I think it follows like three people. And
that sounds great.
Yeah. One of them was like fighting for suffrage in the UK and then came back. She's originally from the US and came back to like sort of bring like her experience over to, back home. And it sounds great. I love historical fiction, especially historical fiction that's centered on women. And I just think it sounds like a good book.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I'm going to read this too. This sounds great.
That does sound really good.
We should make it a book club book, maybe.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Maybe like during election.
Ooh, yeah.
time. All right, Kelly, what's your last pick?
Okay, my last pick is Falling by T.J. Newman, possibly the Kellyest thriller that has ever Kellyed. So here's the synopsis. It's 6 sentences. You just boarded a flight to New York. There are 143 other passengers on board. What you don't know is that 30 minutes before the flight, your pilot's family was kidnapped. For his family to live, everyone on your plane must die. The only way the family will survive is if the pilot follows his orders and crashes the plane. Enjoy the flight.
What?
I mean, I feel like that last sentence isn't really necessary, but the rest of it sounds good.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just like imagining it read by a stewardess, like in the like the pre-flight announcements type voice.
Crazy.
So actually, a super fun fact with that, the author, she was a flight attendant.
So yeah.
For like 10 years. And apparently most of the time she was doing that, she's writing it like on red-eye flights while everyone else is sleeping.
Okay, what's this called again? Because I actually do, even though I know I always say I'm not a thrillers person, this does sound kind of good.
Okay, it's TJ Newman. It's out July 6th. I don't know. So Lee Child, who is like obviously super famous thriller guy, said amazing, intense suspense, shocks and scares, chilling, like chilling in all caps. So I really don't know if this is the thriller to go for people who don't love that, but I'm super excited and I hope you do read it. And if you do, I hope it doesn't turn you off of thrillers forever, because that would be sad.
I'm more afraid of it turning me off of flying, and I fly a lot. So
I think it sounds great. I'm definitely gonna read it.
it already has over 1,000 ratings on Goodreads, and it's got over a 4 average rating. I bet it's gonna be.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure they'll make it into a movie.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Wow. All right, my last pick. I think I'm going to regret putting this on here because I don't know that I'll get to it because it is kind of long, but I just couldn't. I've already got it on NetGalley, so maybe, but it's called Appleseed and it's by Matt Bell. And this is another sci-fi pick. So it says from Goodreads, it says, in the vein of Neil Stephenson and Jeff Vandermeer, an epic speculative novel from Young Lions Fiction Award finalist Matt Bell, a breakout book that explores climate change, manifest destiny, humanity's unchecked exploitation of natural resources, and the small but powerful magic contained within every single apple. So, okay, the reason I want to read this is because I read Neil Stephenson's book, Seven Eves, which spans like thousands generations of years, and I loved it, and it like goes into the future, and so I need to like read more of the description because I cannot keep it all straight in my head. But it says, in 18th century Ohio, 2 brothers travel into the wooded frontier, planting apple orchards from which they plan to profit in the years to come. As they remake the wilderness in their own image, planning for a future of settlement and civilization, the long-held bonds and secrets between the two will be tested, fractured and broken, and possibly healed. 50 years from now, in the second half of the 21st century, climate change has ravaged the earth. Having invested early in genetic engineering and food science, one company now owns all of the world's resources. Gee, I wonder which one they're talking about. But a growing resistance is working to redistribute both land and power. And in a pivotal moment for the future of humanity, one of the company's original founders will return to headquarters, intending to destroy what he helped build. 1,000 years in the future, North America is covered by a massive sheet of ice. One lonely sentient being inhabits a tech station on top of the glacier, and in a daring and seemingly impossible quest, sets out to follow a homing beacon across the continent in the hopes of discovering the last remnant of civilization. So it's like a very ambitious novel, obviously.
Yeah.
That is going to have like 3 parts, it seems like, of different timelines. I don't quite understand how they all fit together, but I love epic novels. It sounds almost like kind of like a fairy tale retelling with the Appleseed. So I'm intrigued.
That sounds great, actually.
I know. Cool. And so Neil Stephenson's Seven Eves was, I think, like you either loved it or hate it, the way that it like jumped so far in the future. I happened to love it. So that's why this one caught my attention. So
whoa.
All right. I think this month might be the month where I read all of mine, if I'm able to get to Appleseed, if I like really try, because a lot of them I will listen to on audio, and I have a lot of driving to do this month. So
yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, I'm so excited for this month.
Me too.
I feel like I'm coming out of like a 3-month slump almost, just like a mini one. Like, like it was 3 months of a light slump. So I just haven't been reading that much.
Well,
but
you've been working a lot.
Right. Like May was a crazy work month. So April was like the lead up, and then May was working every day for like 12 hours. And then like June was just like the letdown, you know? And they're like having to recover. So
now you're going to get back into it.
Yeah. I have a vacation coming up this month. It's, you know, reading outside by the pool weather, beach weather. I'm going to be reading a lot, I think.
Same.
Good.
Yay. All right.
So again, if you're interested in any of these books on audio and you don't have a subscription to Libro FM, you can get 2 books for the price of one with a new subscription with the promo code what you should read, all one word.
And you can follow us on social media at WYSR_podcast on Instagram and on Twitter. You can email us at whatyousshouldreadpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Goodreads, where we list all the books that we talk about in each episode. And you can give us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. That would be great. We'd really appreciate it.
And now you know what you should read.
You're welcome.
It's time for What You Should Read, the podcast all about the titles you need. Join 3 book lovers and a guest as they cover all the best new titles to enjoy with your tea.
I have that, but I haven't read it yet.
It's time for What You Should Read, the podcast all about the titles you need. Join 3 book lovers and a guest as they cover all the best new titles to enjoy with your tea.